Alhamdulilāh Rabbil Alameen, wa salatu wa salamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursaleen, nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'een. Allahumma rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli, amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, today we continue with our regular Thursday Tajweed sessions. Last week we did complete all of the rules of Tajweed, alhamdulillah, and we did mention that we will spend the next couple of lessons of doing a revision session of everything that we've covered. So the way we're going to do it is all of the rules that we've covered, we're going to just be speeding it up. We're going to be covering it in a very fast pace. So for those of you who are here for the first time, you may feel that I'm going a bit fast and I'm just running through it. It's because we've already done it, okay? But inshallah, we'll be going through these slides just to refresh all the information, whatever we can get done within the next about 20 minutes or so, and then we'll be focusing on two surahs today, and that will be Surah Takathur and Surah Al-Qari'ah bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Okay? So to start off with, inshallah, of course, in the first session that we did a few months back, we did an introduction to Tajweed. We talked about the 10 aspects of Tajweed, etc. We won't be talking about that, we will get straight into it. And the first set of rules that we covered was a summary of the articulation points of the letters. We know that when it comes to learning the letters, there's two aspects. There is one aspect known as the makharij al-huruf, and one is sifat al-huruf. Makharij al-huruf is the exit points or the articulate points of where the letters are pronounced from, and sifat is the characteristic of these letters. One we did not touch on at all, the sifat al-huruf, because I personally feel that it's not mandatory for anyone who is learning Tajweed at a beginner stage to learn the sifat. But the makharij is the most important thing. So when we talk about the makharij al-huruf, we divided the letters into how many groups? 5 groups. 5 groups, okay? One of the groups that we had is the letters that are read from the nose. And they are only done when there is a certain short vowel on these letters, and that is the shadda, and that is 2 letters. Which 2 letters are they? Noon? Mim, okay? So when noon and mim have a shadda, then you will make the ghunna sound, isn't it? All right? And this is known as al-khayshum, where you read it from the nose. So that's 2 letters, okay? Then we have the jawf area, which is the mouth area, where you will be prolonging certain letters. And there are 3 letters of prolongation in the Arabic language. Which 3 letters are they? 3 letters of mad. Alif, waw, ya. Alif, waw, ya. So when we stretch I, U, we are using our mouth area, and this is why it class as al-jawf, from the mouth area. But this is only when it has a mad, when it's prolonged. If it's not prolonged, then it will be in a different articulation point. Okay? Then we have the throat. We have 6 letters of the throat. 6 letters of the throat. We divided the letters into 3 groups: from the bottom, from the middle, from the top. From the bottom of the throat is 2 letters. Which 3 letters are they? Ha, hamza, ha. From the middle, ayn, ha. Ayn, ha. From the top, ghayn, kha. So these are the 6 letters of the throat. Hamza, ha, ayn, ha, ghayn, kha. Say it like that, it'll be easy. Hamza, ha, ayn, ha, ghayn, kha. These are the 6 letters of the throat. Okay, so that's 3 articulation points. Then we have 2 other points, okay? One is the lips. From the lips we have 4 letters. Ba, mim, fa, and waw. Okay, these are the letters of the lips, because you are using a part of the lips to pronounce these letters. And the rest of the letters will fall under the category of the tongue. Okay, so you are using different parts of the tongue, right? For example, lam, noon. If the tongue is touching the palate, regardless of which part of the palate is touching, then it will be classed as the letter of the tongue. And this is how we summarize the 5 groups of the articulation points. Okay. After that, we moved on, and then we talked about dividing the letters into 3 categories. We have heavy letters, we have light letters, and we have letters that are sometimes heavy, sometimes light. Starting off, we have the heavy letters. How many heavy letters do you have in the Arabic language? 7, mashallah. Can anyone remember the term that we memorized? خصة ضغط قض. خصة ضغط قض. خاء صاد ضاد غين طا قاف and ضاء. We give a simple rule for us to differentiate between a heavy letter and a light letter. Who can remember that? How do you know when something's heavy and something's light? Simple rule. Can you remember? Huh? Oh, good, very good. Okay. If you want to know a heavy letter, it's very simple. If you're making your mouth into an oval shape, then you know it's a heavy letter. Let's test it. Right? Ba. It's light. I stretched my mouth. Okay. Kha. Heavy. Sad. Heavy. Dal. Light. Okay, this is how you differentiate between the two groups. So heavy is 7 letters. Khussa, Daghtin, Qidh. Okay, are all of these letters always heavy? So if it has a fatha, kasra, dhamma, is it always heavy? Yes, it's always heavy. However, if it has a kasra, it's the least amount. What do I mean by the least amount? You don't put too much emphasis into it. Okay? You don't say khi, right? You say khi, sli, ti, right? These are the 7 letters that are heavy. And then the rest of the letters are light except for 3 letters. What are the 3 letters? That are sometimes heavy, sometimes light. Ra, lam, alif. Okay? Alif, lam, and ra. Should remember alif, lam, ra. Okay? Everyone's, you know the surah, alif, lam, ra. So remember it like that. Alif, lam, and ra. Okay? So these letters, they have exceptional rules which we will be covering bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. Firstly, we go over the rule of alif. Right? When is alif heavy and when is it light? You look at the letter before. If the letter before the alif is heavy, then the alif is heavy. If the letter before is light, the alif is light. For example, if I was to say babun, there's an alif in the middle, babun. What's happened to the alif here? It's light, isn't it? Because the ba is light. What if I was to say dallun? What's happened? Alif is light, heavy because of what? The dad, right? So always when you are looking at the alif, look at the letter before. If the letter before is heavy, then the alif is heavy. If the letter before is light, then the alif is light. That's the first one, the alif. طيب. Moving on, we have the rule of the letter lam. As you can see, I'm going at a fast pace, right? Okay? Slowly, it should be, it's just revision for us, inshallah. The letter lam. The letter lam. When is the letter lam heavy? When is it light? On the word? Lafzul Jalalah, Allah. Right? Allah, the word Allah has its own exceptional rules. Sometimes it will be heavy, sometimes it will be light. So if I say A'udhu Billahi, Allah here is light. What's the ruling that we covered? We look at the short vowel before and not the letter. So if there is a kasra or a zair before the word Allah, then the word Allah is light. If there is a dhamma or a fatha, a zabar or a pesh before the word Allah, Allah is heavy. Okay? إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ, isn't it? قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ. Straight away, the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, lafzul jalala, it changes based on the short vowel before. So remember the difference between alif and lam is what? Alif we looked at the letter before. But Allah, the word Allah, we looked at the short vowel before. Either fatha, kasra or dhamma. Okay. Moving on, we moved on to the next rule, and that is the rule of the letter Ra. The letter Ra has so many rules. So many rules, right? Okay, so I'm going to ask a question and you need to answer. If a Ra has a fatha, is it heavy or is it light? Heavy. If the Ra has a dhamma, is it heavy or is it light? Heavy. Good. If the Ra has a kasra, is it heavy or is it light? Okay, good. So far, so good. Okay. If a Ra has a sakin, what do we do? Oh, okay. Brother said haraka. He looked at the short vowel before. Anyone disagree? Is it okay? So we look at the short vowel before. Okay, the ra has a sakin. Before it there is a fatha or a dhamma. The ra is heavy. Good. Before it there's a kasra. The ra is this is confusing. Yeah. Ah, fantastic. The brother remembers, mashallah. Right? The ra is very different. Okay. So when the ra has a sakin, and before it there's a fatha or dhamma, ra is heavy. If there's a kasra before it, we have another step. What's the step? We have to look at the letter after. If the letter after is heavy, the ra is heavy. If the letter after is light, the ra is light. Here's examples for you to see. Look at the last two examples at the bottom. The same rules. Look at the ra. Both the ra's have sakin. But the first one, the letter after it is a sad. And the second one, the letter after it is ayn. So fir'aun mirsad. One is heavy, one is light. So if someone wants to come and say to you right now, Inna rabbaka labil mirsad. So Ustad, why did you make that heavy for? What would you say? You will say that the ra has a sakin. Before it there's a kasra, but there is a heavy letter after it. That's why the ra is heavy. If someone comes and says fir'aun, Ustad, why is the ra light here? How are you going to explain? What are you going to say? The letter after is light, ayn. This is why the ra is light. Okay? So difference between mirsad and fir'aun. And as we mentioned, there are so many exceptional rules to the letter ra, but you need to know the Arabic language for this. Okay? And sometimes there are certain examples that we can give for you to understand how important it is to know the Arabic language, and sometimes look at the context of it. Sorry? Light letter. Smile. You won't say ayn, you will say ayn. Right? Ayn is a light letter. Okay? طيب, I'll give you some exceptions. One exception that we talked about, and the reason why we talked about it, is because you all probably will read it in Surah Al-Fajr. وَالْفَجْرُ وَلَيَالٍ عَشْرُ وَالشَّفْعِ وَالْوَتْرُ وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَسْرِ. The ra here is light. Everything else was heavy, but ra here was light. Why? Because the origin of this word is yasri. In the Arabic language, those that learn the Arabic language, what is it? Yasri. Right? And sometimes there be a hadf. There be you take off the letter to go with the nazm of the Qur'an. Okay, so wal-fajr, wa-layalin ashr. Imagine I said wal-layli idha yasri. It doesn't go with the nazm of the Qur'an. Right? This is why we say wal-layli idha yasr, to show that in reality it's supposed to be yasri. Okay? So that's the exception. There's other exceptions. For example, at the end of Surah Fajr, Ya ayyatuhan nafsul mutma'inna. Do I say irji'i or say irji'i? Based on the rule that we learned, it's supposed to be irji'i. Because the third letter here is jim. Jim is a heavy, is a light? Light. So that means the ra should be light. Irji'i is an exception. Why? Because it's in command format. Again, you need to know the Arabic language for this. So I'm just showing you all this so that you can, inshallah, hopefully it'll motivate you to go say, you know what, I need to learn the Arabic language, inshallah, okay? So ra has many exceptions, but generally there is are the rules that we've already just covered, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Okay, moving on, of course, so that was heavy done, khussa daghtin qidh, 7 letters, and the exceptional letters, alif, lam, ra, done. And then the rest of the letters fall under which category? Light letters, okay? And the rest of the letters are light letters. When you are pronouncing these letters, I give you 2 tips, which I'll mention again. If you want to do a heavy letter, again, these are just generic advice, a piece of advice, right? Because sometimes there are some little details when we're talking about each letter. However, if you are reading a heavy letter, apply 2 things. Make sure you're doing an oval shape, number 1. And number 2, don't move the bottom lip. Okay? Because if you don't do one of them properly, then your letter is going to come out wrong. I'll give you an example. If, say, for example, I was to read the letter Sad, and I was to read it like this, Swad, What mistake have I made? I've moved my bottom lip. And this is why there's an extra sound, W. And that's wrong. Okay. If I was to say sad, what's the mistake I've done? I haven't done an oval shape. But if you apply both of these things on the heavy letters, you'll see that you will be free from mistake. Watch. Sad, oval shape, bottom lip isn't moving. Dad, bottom lip isn't moving. Qaf, oval shape. Very simple. So for heavy letters, what are the two pieces of advice? Oval and don't move your bottom lip. Okay. What was the two pieces of advice for the light letters? Smile. Or was there anything else? There wasn't anything else. It was just that, okay? Right, okay? You smile as much as you can. It's as simple as that, okay? Smile as much as you can. So you stretch your mouth out. Ba, ta, tha, jim, ha, dal, dhal. And this should be applied in all of the short vowels. Not just fatha. Don't just say ba, bi, bu. No, no, no. Ba, bi, bu, ta, ti, tu, tha, thi, thu. I'm smiling the whole way, right? Okay? And if you keep that consistent, then you will pronounce the letters properly. Okay? So these are the letters done. Okay? Any questions on the letters? Is that okay? Alhamdulillah. Jayeed. Right, let's move on, inshallah. Alright, moving on, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, we moved on to the next part, which was the rules pertaining to sukoon. When we look at the Arabic language, again, for those of you who came a bit late, we're rushing through this because we've already done it. Just for brothers who came a bit late, inshallah. We've already done this. This is a revision session. Okay? When we look at the short vowels in the Arabic language, we have many short vowels. We have a fatha, and that sound is a. We have a kasra, the sound is e. We have a dhamma, the sound is u. Fatha, kasra, dhamma. Remember these three. Then we have something known as a shadda. What is a shadda? It's like a W. And it's when you are doubling a letter. Not pronouncing as one letter, but you're doubling it up. So instead of saying abba, you'll say abba, atta, etc. Then we have another short vowel, which is known as the sakin. Or some call it sukoon. So, some call it jazm. Right? Right, different contexts and different, if you learn it from an older perspective, this is what they'll say. So I think they call it jazm. Right? Okay, so you have this sakin. And what is a sakin? The equivalent in English language? Silent vowel. It's a silent vowel. So you're not making an a, e, or u sound. You're only pronouncing the first part of the letter. Right? So when it comes to sakin, there are many rules. Right? Not all the letters, when you stop on these letters, will have the same ending. Some letters you will bounce. Some letters you will put emphasis on. Right? This is how we have to look at the sakin. So there are so many rules pertaining to the sakin. The first of these rules that we covered was the qalqala. Was the qalqala. What does qalqala mean? Bouncing or a vibration sound. And qalqala consists of 5 letters. What are they? Qaf, Qaf, Ta, Ba, Jim, Dal. And what was the word that we learned? Qutubu Jaddin. Say it with me. Qutubu Jaddin. Just memorize it, easy. Qutubu Jaddin. Someone wants to come and ask you, you don't have to be like, let me go through it. What is it? Qutubu Jaddin. Easy, alright? And then you remember it's Qaf, Ta, Ba, Jim, and Dal. Alright. 5 letters of the letters of qalqala. But qalqala, they are of levels. They're not the same. We looked at this from 2 angles. The first thing that we looked at is qalqala, we divide it into 2 groups. Qalqala sughra, which means a small qalqala, and qalqala kubra, which means a big qalqala. And how do we differentiate between the two? If it is in the middle of the word, it is qalqala sughra. And if it's at the end of the word, qalqala kubra. Okay? What's the difference? If it's sughra, that means you're doing it a bit fast. You don't have enough time. You have to move on. So for example, if I was to say the word aba wa ba, I can't say aba wa ba. I'm going to have to move on quickly. Aba wa ba. So the qalqala isn't emphasized as much. But qalqala kubra is at the end of an ayah, if you're stopping on it. So you can emphasize on it, right? قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. Is there anything else after it? No. So this is the difference, first difference. The second difference is, let's see who remembers just the letters that we covered. Qaf, ta, ba, jim, dal. How many of these letters are heavy? Qaf. Brother said 3. Anyone differ? 2. Qaf and ta. Yeah? Ba, jim and dal are light. Why do you think I make this differentiation? When you do qalqala into these letters, you have to be wary of which letter you're doing qalqala into. If it's a heavy letter, then you're going to make your mouth into an oval shape. For example, iqra bismi. I can't say iqra bismi. What am I going to say? Iqra bismi, because qaf is a heavy letter. Okay. What about if it's a light letter? I do the opposite. Yeah, exactly. MashaAllah. قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. Ahad, not ahadu. Huh? Why? Because one is heavy, one is light. So that's excellent, very good. You try to smile as much as you can, right? Okay. This is a generic advice. If you do that, you'll see that inshallah, you'll be safe. You'll be safe. Okay. طيب. Moving on, inshallah, we moved on to another rule. Can you see how fast we're going, mashallah? Right? We're covering so many rules. This took us a few months we're doing all of them in one lesson. All right? Okay. Alhamdulillah. All right. The next rule that we covered was the rule of hams. We said that hams is not a rule that comes under tajweed. It's more to do with the characteristics, sifat al-huruf. But there's a reason why we talked about hams specifically, is because it's a rule that many people tend to just avoid, or they tend to not pay attention to. And hams is when you put emphasis on certain letters. You have to emphasize on the letters. And there are 10 letters. And we memorize the sentence, فَحَثُّهُ شَخْصٌ سَكَتْ. It's time ago, that was a long sentence, okay? Fa, ha, tha, ha, sheen, kha, sad, seen, kaf, and ta. These are the letters that you put extra emphasis on, specifically when they have a sakin on it. Because what happens is, if you don't emphasize on it, then you will not pronounce the letter, and you will not give the letter its due right. And one of the most important ones from these letters was the letter ta and the letter ha. You know, for example, when we read وَيْلٌ لِكُلِّ هُمَزَةٍ لُمَزَةٍ, at the end of وَيْلٌ لِكُلِّ هُمَزَةٍ لُمَزَةٍ, there is a ha there. Many people, they just leave it. وَيْلٌ لِكُلِّ هُمَزَةٍ لُمَزَةٍ. But if you do the hams, how will you say it? وَيْلٌ لِكُلِّ هُمَزَةٍ لُمَزَةٍ. There's a difference. The second one, I'm pronouncing the ha. Same with, for example, here. هل أتاك حديث الغاشية. Not غاشية. And in the word Allah, lafzul jalala, many people leave this out. For example, I don't know, let's say إذا جاء نصر الله. They just stop like that. How should it be? نصر الله. And this is called hams. And the ta we emphasize because ta was a letter that many people, they do it when it doesn't have a sakin on. So they read it as the letter T. They say tabbat yada. You don't do it when it has a moving vowel. You only do it when it has a sakin. Tabbat yada, tabbat yada. You see? Right? So you have to emphasize on these letters in order for the letter to come out correctly. Okay? If a person leaves it, he won't be wrong. Right? But we're here to learn and perfect everything that we're doing, inshallah. So that's the second rule. Okay, let's do one more rule. Am I going too fast? Huh? Is it too fast? It is a revision session. Yes, so generally these letters should be emphasized when they have a moving vowel as well. However, they are more emphasized when they have sakin on it. Okay, طيب. How long do we have? Okay, we can cover this inshallah. The next thing we're going to cover is the rules of noon, sakin and tanween. Right? Without using the thing, inshallah, I'm going to ask you guys a lot of questions. You have to answer it. Faces just dropped. Right. Firstly, what's a noon sakin? Is it noon with a sakin on top? Yeah? Or noon with a sakin on top. What's a tanween? Right, he said it right. Duizir, dui pesh, Brother's thinking of what we're talking about. It's double fatha, double kasra, double dhamma. Okay? Right? So this is known as tanween. What's the difference between noon sakin and tanween? You had a specific slide for this. What's the difference between it? Is there any difference? In sound, is there any difference? In sound, it's the same. In ruling, there's a difference. In ruling, noon sakin is a part of the word. Tanween isn't a part of the word. What do I mean by that? صراط الذين أنعمت. There's a noon sakin there, right? Picture in your head. Is there a noon sakin there? There is, right? أنعمت. That means the noon sakin is a part of the word. If I remove it and I say أعمت, أعوذ بالله, there's no meaning left, right? أنعمت, the noon is a part of the word. Whereas the tanween, guys, is, you can change around. An, in, un, you can get rid of it, the meaning still stands. For example, we have the word bab. Bab means door. If I put double dhamma and I said babun, if I put double fatha on it, baban, double kasra on it, babin, has the meaning changed? Still, bab is bab. Bab means what? Door. But in the noon sakin, you get rid of it, khalas. Your meaning is gone. So this is the difference between the noon sakin and tanween. So if someone was to ask you the difference between what are you going to say? Noon sakin, part of the word. Tanween, what is it? It's a not part of the word. It's a grammatical change. Okay? So under noon sakin and tanween, how many rules do we have? One rule. Any of the scholars differ? Imam Abu Hanifa? Yeah. How many rules? 4 rules, mashallah. 4 rules, okay? Let's see, we want to get 4 imams here. Imam Abu Hanifa, Ahmad bin Hanbal, Shafi'i, Malik. Okay? Inshallah. All right? We have to differ all the time. All right? Difference is good. You can have a healthy debate, inshallah. Right. So, we said that noon sakin tanween has 4 rules, okay? And we covered all 4 rules today, and today we'll summarize them bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. So the first rule that we covered was iqlab, the most controversial one. What does iqlab mean? To change. How do you remember that? The word qalb. We talked about that. Qalb means heart, and the heart is a place of change, isn't it? Your moods change very fastly, right? Okay? So qalb, iqlab means to change. When after a noon sakin or tanween, the letter ba comes, then there's a change happening. What's the change? We're changing the noon into a mim, and we are doing ghunnah. For example, mim ba'di. What's the controversy that we talked about? Leaving it open a little bit. You'll hear some people, they leave it open a little bit. But we said, we're not going to leave it opened. We're going to close it, okay? So we say, mim ba'di, and not mim ba'di. Mim ba'di, okay? So that's the full. That's right, that's right. That's how it is. You don't pronounce the noon is cancelled out. The noon's gone. The noon's gone. This is why we said change means, khalas, it's gone. You're putting an X to the noon and you're putting a meme in its place, okay? Yeah, that's right. Straight meme, inshallah. Mim ba'di. Mim ba'di. There's no noon. There shouldn't be any traces of the noon within that word, okay? So that is the rule of iqlab. And which letter is the letter of iqlab? The letter ba only, no other letter. For example, or if you were to say, for example, instead of saying mim ba'di, you were to say min and stop, then you make it as a noon. But this is when it's continuation of iqlab. No ghunnah, no ghunnah. So you won't do any ghunnah on it. So you will just stop it as, for example, a normal word, min, right? This is how you'll do it. But it's not, remember when it comes to wuquf, when it comes to stops, there's certain stops that are recommended, certain stops that you shouldn't do, right? In between an iqlab, there shouldn't ever be a stop, right? So you should continue and stop on mim ba'd and not min, and then go on to ba'd, okay? طيب, this is the rule of iqlab. What was the second rule that we moved on to? We moved on to the rule of idgham. The rule of idgham. What does idgham mean? It means to merge or to join, right? What are we joining? The letter before the noon sakin and tanween with the letter after. So what's happening to the noon sakin? You're taking it off. Khalas. There's no athar there. You're joining with the letter before with the letter after. طيب. Idgham will consist of how many letters? What are they? Yarmalun or yarmulun. Okay? Ya, Ra, Mim, Lam, Waw, and Nun. 6 letters. And these 6 letters are divided into 2 groups. We have idgham with ghunna, idgham without ghunna. Idgham with ghunna is how many letters? 4 letters. Yanmu, Ya, Nun, Mim, and Waw. So if you see them after the noon sakin, you'll cancel out the noon sakin, but you'll do a ghunna as well. For example, instead of saying min wara, you'll say min wara. Instead of saying man ya'mal, you will say man ya'mal. You're doing a ghunna, right? And the other 2 letters, the ra and the lam, are idgham without ghunna. So instead of saying min rabbika, what will you say? Mir rabbika. Am I doing ghunna? No, no ghunna. So this is how we differentiate between the idgham with ghunna and idgham without ghunna. The last rule that we'll cover for today, inshallah, and in the next lesson we'll cover the rest of the rules, and we're done. We could have done this at the beginning of the course, we could have covered it in 2 days. No, sometimes you have to do a slow procedure and then a fast procedure. And maybe you can do a faster procedure, inshallah. What do you think? The ra, based on the rules that we covered today. Brother said light. Anyone differ with him? The brother wasn't happy. Why is it not light? Heavy.
No, it's going to be heavy, because the letter after it is heavy.
Ba is heavy? Ahsan, khalas. Ra has a fatha, khalas. We don't look at anything else. Those rules that you are thinking about is when the ra has a sakin, right? If the ra has a sakin, then we look at the next or before, etc. But if the ra has a moving vowel, khalas, it's done. You look at a fatha, heavy. Dhamma, heavy. Kasra, light. Okay? طيب, mashallah. A lot of engagement today, I like that, alhamdulillah. Right, okay. طيب, the last thing that we're going to cover, inshallah, and that is the rule of ikhfa. Oh, we've got 2 more rules left, ikhfa and idhar, right? Idhar is easy, so don't worry about it, inshallah. So ikhfa, that was the one that was a bit difficult. Ikhfa means to hide, when you are hiding something. So the first rule, what did we do? Iqlab, changed it. Idgham, removed it. Ikhfa, what are you doing with ikhfa? You're hiding it. So you're not pronouncing an sound, nor are you getting rid of it. It's something in between. And the closest, most relevant understanding of this is the ing sound. Ing, the closest. I'm not saying it's exact, I'm saying the closest. When you say, for example, playing, eating, you're making the ing sound, but it's not noon, it's hidden somewhere there. And this is the closest thing to a ikhfa, right? When it comes to ikhfa, how many letters were there? Or are there? 15 letters. 15 letters. But we divided the 15 letters into 2 groups. Heavy, light. Why do you think we did that? Because it's going to be different the way we approach the letters. So if we do ikhfa into a heavy letter, for example, the letter qaf. I'll give you an example, min qabl. Okay? How do we do ikhfa into min qabl? Heavy, right? So you make your mouth into oval shape, okay? Min qabl. Not min qabl. What would you say? Min qabl. Why? Because qaf is heavy. If you look at the word anta, after the noon sakin there's a ta. Is ta heavy or light? Light. Okay, so how would you ikhfa into the ta? Anta. So you see, they're both different. Min qabl, anta. 2 different things, right? You got one is heavy and one is light. Okay? So this is why we divide the 15 letters into 2 groups. You have 10 that are heavy and 5 that are light. Okay. The last thing that we covered was the rule. Sorry? You just move your mouth. So if you're going to do an ikhfa into a qaf, for example, you would prepare for the letter. How would you say qaf? Good, very good. So you make that sound before you do it. So you'll say, watch. Min qabl. You see? Min qabl. It's all about preparation for the letter. If someone doesn't do it, he's not going to we can't say that he's doing a mistake. But example, if I was to say min qabl, what's going to happen to the qaf? It's going to come out light. Watch. Min qa. I'm starting off light. So if we do it like this, min qa, it's easier for us to pronounce the letter. Yes, that's right. You make it before you say the letter. Okay, the last rule before we do some Quran recitation, and that is the rule of idhar, which is the easiest one. Idhar is you don't do no gunna, you pronounce it, you show the noon. Idhar means to show, okay? To make something apparent, okay? And the letters of idhar are Hamza ha, Ain ha, Ghain kha, the letters of the throat. These are the letters that you make apparent after a noon sakin or tanween. Okay, طيب, let's move on inshallah, and we'll go straight into the recitation bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. And today's recitation will be of a few surahs. We will do a bit of a little challenge as we always do. Can you remember what that is? We normally go through a verse or a surah and we go over the rules, isn't it? Right? So we will be doing that of Surah Al-Takathur today, inshallah. But firstly, we'll start off with the recitation of Surah Al-Takathur. So inshallah, as you know, we'll recite it, I'll recite it, you recite it after me. Then we'll analyze each verse, the common mistakes that are made in each verse, inshallah. So everyone just recite after me. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألهاكم التكاثر حتى زرتم المقابر كلا سوف تعلمون ثم كلا سوف تعلمون كلا لو تعلمون علم اليقين لترون الجحيم ثم لترونها عين اليقين ثم لتسألن يومئذ عن النعيم Ahsantum, very good. Okay, let's go over each verse inshallah. Look at some of the common mistakes that are made within each verse, and then we'll go through it together, bi'idhnillah. First verse we have is Alhaakumut takathur, right? The first part is easy. Alhaakumut taka. Thur here is the hard part. Tha is a heavy or is a light letter? Light letter, huh? Okay? Apply the rules that we mentioned at the beginning. MashaAllah, brother smiling. Okay. Alhaakumut taka. Not thur. Thu, right? Here you don't have to emphasize much because there's no letter like the letter tha. There's no other letter. So even if you weren't to smile, to say thu, it's fine. But sometimes you don't want to make it sound heavy. So don't say thu, no. Alhaakumut takathu. Then the ra here, brother, this question is for you. Is the ra heavy or is it light? Ra, is it heavy or is it light? Why? Fantastic, ahsant, very good, mashallah. Right? So the ra is heavy here. So you have to end with a heavy ra. Alhaakumut takathur. Finishing like that, not thur. Thur. Okay? Sorry? Excellent, very good. So this is a common mistake some people make. Thur, and they stop. No. Thur, heavy letter. Okay, that's the first thing. Next verse. Hatta zurtumul. Ta, heavy or light? Huh? Light letter. So here you have to do a quick transition. Hatta zurtumul, not tumul, because then you'll get close to the letter ta. Hatta zurtumul maqa, and not maqa. Why would someone say maqa? Because the qaf is heavy, so sometimes the meme comes out as heavy. You'll hear this, maqabir, maqabir. But is it maqabir? What is it? Ahsantum, right? Maqabir, not maqabir. The next thing, ra at the end of this verse, is it heavy or is it light? Light, why? Kasra, fantastic, because the letter before has a kasra. So you don't say maqabir, what is it? Good, very good, maqabir, okay? So if you join it together, hatta zurtumul maqabir. Try it. Ahsantum, very good. If you see the rules that you're applying, you can start to see the difference now. The next two verses are together, right? كَلَّا سَوْفَ تَعْلَمُونَ and ثُمَّ كَلَّا سَوْفَ تَعْلَمُونَ. The first thing that I want to analyze is that word ta'lamun. When you're finishing the verse, we mentioned something very important to ensure that we do not read from our nasal when we are ending verses, that don't lower your voice, but raise your voice. If I start saying, كَلَّا سَوْفَ تَعْلَمُونَ, I'm going to be reading from my nose. But if I say it like this, one way or a bit higher, كَلَّا سَوْفَ تَعْلَمُونَ, not then I'll make the sound clear. And if you want to test yourself to see if you're reading from your nose or not, what do? Just block your nose. If you're blocking your nose and you can continue, you're good. If you can't continue, that means you're reading from the nose. You need to fix that, okay? The other thing is when you're ending of a verse, there's a noon at the end. Don't forget that noon. Don't say, كَلَّا سَوْفَ تَعْلَمُونَ. No. تَعْلَمُونَ. Finish off with the noon. Give the noon its due right. The next verse, ثُمَّ كَلَّا سَوْفَ تَعْلَمُونَ. ثُمَّ, not ثُمَّ كَلَّا. Many reciters do that. Why? Because they want to beautify the ghunna, but they beautify that which is before the ghunna. So they'll be like, ثُمَّ كَلَّا. But it's not supposed to be like that. How is it supposed to be? ثُمَّ. You join it together and then put emphasis on the meme. Okay? So that's كَلَّا سَوْفَ تَعْلَمُونَ ثُمَّ كَلَّا سَوْفَ تَعْلَمُونَ. كَلَّا لَوْ تَعْلَمُونَ عِلْمَ. All of this is okay. The ending is where people make mistakes. عِلْمَ لَيَا. What's the mistake? قَلْقَلَ and the lam. We talked about this under Alhamdu. Don't rush too fast and do a qalqal and the lam. Don't say عِلْمَ لَيَقِينَ. Stop on it. عِلْمَ لَيَا. عِلْمَ لَيَا. Not عِلْمَ لَيَا. Okay, that's the first. Yaqeen, qaf has a kasra. So it's the least amount. Don't say yaqeen. What is it? Yaqeen, yaqeen. Okay, that's the next thing. The next verse. This one is a very hard one. And that is the word لَتَرَوُنَّ. A lot of people leave out the wow. Totally leave it out. لَتَرَوُنَّ. لَتَرَوُنَّ. No. What is it? لَتَرَوُ. As in W-O-O. Not just O-O. Not لَتَرَوُنَّ. لَتَرَوُنَّ. So ensure that your bottom lip is moving a little bit. Because you've got a wow there. If you leave the letter out, the meaning won't stand. So, لَتَرَوُنَّ الْجَحِيمِ. Try that. Jahim. Ha. Ahsantum. Okay. Same thing in the next verse. ثُمَّ. We've already covered in ثُمَّ كَلَّا. لَتَرَوُنَّهَا. In the verse before. عَيْنَ الْيَقِينِ. We've done close to عِلْمَ الْيَقِينِ. The last verse. ثُمَّ لَتُسْأَلُنَّ. It's fine. يومئذ إظهار after يومئذ عن غنة عن النعيم. And we finish off with that. Listen to the surah once and then I'll listen to 3 people recite it. Then we move on to the next surah inshallah. Okay, so just listen to me recite the surah and try to watch my mouth movements. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألهاكم التكاثر حتى زرتم المقابر كلا سوف تعلمون ثم كلا سوف تعلمون كلا لو تعلمون علم اليقين لترون الجحيم ثم لترونها عين اليقين ثم لتسألن يومئذ عن النعيم. Right, 3 people reciting. First person. Shall I nominate today? Bismillah. Bismillah. Don't worry, the mushaf's there if you want to look inside. MashaAllah. Small ha. MashaAllah. Hatta. Good. MashaAllah. Maqabir. Not too long. Kalla. Fantastic. Very good. Very good. لترون الجحيم. Good. Good. Fantastic, mashallah. So when you differentiate between the letter tha and sin, sin is behind the tongue and tha is in front of the tongue. Tayyib, next person. Ready? Good. Maqa. Good. Excellent. Corrected yourself. Good. Latara. Again. Latara. Not unna. See, this is a common mistake. Don't worry about it. Whenever we're taking that mistake out, guys, this is something that's common. So latara. Say woo. Woo. Okay. Latarawunna. Better. Again. Join it. Good, excellent. 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 And the last verse? Excellent. Okay. Sorry guys, I'm in a bit of a rush, so we'll do the next surah. We'll just do 2 turns for the next surah. Okay? So you need to get the next surah, inshallah. Surah Qari'ah. Okay? طيب, we'll finish off Surah Qari'ah and then we'll finish off for today. طيب, let's quickly go over Surah Al-Qari'ah بإذن ta'ala. So we recite after me, inshallah. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. القارعة. ما القارعة. وما أدراك ما القارعة. يوم يكون الناس كالفراش المبثوث. مبثوث. وتكون الجبال كالعهن المنفوش. فأما من ثقلت موازينه فهو في عيشة راضية وأما من خفت موازينه فأمه هاوية وما أدراك ما هي نار حامية. أحسنتم. Okay, let's go over inshallah. So Al-Qari'ah. At the end of the verse we have a ta. What did we say about the ta? Hams. Make sure you pronounce this letter. Don't just say Al-Qari'ah. No. Al-Qari'ah. Okay, that's the first thing. Mal-Qari'ah, same thing. Excellent. So all you do is, it's as if you're running out of breath. Right? Al-Qari'ah. That's the easiest way to think of it. Right? Okay. That way the ha comes out. Ha is actually from the letter hawa. You know what hawa means, right? In Urdu and Bengali, hawa is letting out the air. Okay. Al-Qari'ah. Okay. That's how you should be finishing off. Okay. طيب. Mal-Qari'ah, same thing. وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ. When you do qalqala in a dal, how should we be doing it? Very good, mashallah. أَدْرَاكَ, not أَدْرَاكَ. Why? Heavy or light letter? Light letter. وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ, not أَدْرَاكَ. أَدْرَاكَ. Okay, that's the third verse. Moving on to the fourth verse. يَوْمَ يَكُونُ النَّاسُ. Many people, when they say the kaf, they don't say this kaf properly. They rush it and say يَوْمَ يَكُونُ النَّاسُ. No. يَوْمَ يَكُو the letter K. يَكُونُ النَّاسُ كَالْفَرَى. Not فَرَى. أيوة أحسنت. فَرَى. Fa is a light letter. Ra is heavy. So don't say كَالْفَرَاشِل. So many people say that, right? كَالْفَرَاشِل. What is it? كَالْفَرَاشِل. Same with the next word. Is it مَبَثُ? Ba is a light letter. مَبَثُوث. If you join it together, يَوْمَ يَكُونُ النَّاسُ كَالْفَرَاشِ الْمَبْثُوث. Like that, okay? طيب, next verse. وَتَكُونُ الْجِبَالِ is okay. كَالْعِهْنِ. That's very hard. Huh? Okay, how are we going to overcome the ayn to a ha? Ayn, where is it from? From the throat? Middle. Where's the ha from? Bottom. So you're going from top to bottom, not from bottom to top. Kal-ihnil, not kal-ihnil. No. Do the opposite. Start off high, then go low. Kal-ihnil. Easiest way to do it, guys. If you rush, you're going to make a mistake. Kal-ihnil. No. Stop for a millisecond. Kal. Make your mind set for it. Kal-ihnil. It'll make it easier for you. Kal-ihnil. That's the first thing. Manfush. How are we doing ikhfa into the fa? Aywa. Get ready for the fa. Manfush. If you join it together. وَتَكُونُ الْجِبَالُ كَالْعِهْنِ الْمَنْفُوشِ. Like that, okay? طيب. فَأَمَّا مَنْ ثَقُلَتْ. ikhfa into a tha. How? Prepare for the tha. How do you say tha? So you'll say like this. مَنْ ثَقُلَتْ مَوَازِينُ. فَهُوَ. We talked about this. This has got nothing to do with tajweed, but this is got to do with the way you recite certain words, right? Syllables is the English equivalent. You have to put the emphasis in the right word. فَهُوَ is not one word. Fa is one word. Huwa is another word. So we emphasize on the ha. فَهُوَ, not فَهُوَ. If I say فَهُوَ, that means what? There's no meaning to it. Fa means hence, thereafter. Huwa means he. فَهُوَ, you see? فَهُوَ فِي عِيشَةٍ رَاضِيَةٍ. Not رَاضِيَةٍ. You'll hear a lot of people say that. It's a ya. فَهُوَ فِي عِيشَةٍ رَاضِيَةٍ. Ya, not ah. Okay? طيب, next verse. وَأَمَّا مَنْ خَفَّتْ. Don't do qalqala. Don't go too fast. مَنْ خَفَّتْ. Stop on it. مَنْ خَفَّتْ مَوَازِينُ. فأمه, and not فأمه. A person who will do a Qari style, he'll probably do that, isn't it? No, that's wrong. Alright? There's no extra mad in between. فأمه. You can do it all you want on the meme, but just don't do it before it. Right? Okay? That's the next thing. Ending the ayah on فَأُمُّهُ هَاوِيَةٌ. All of these verses, majority of them, they have the ha, so don't become complacent of the ha. Don't leave it out. هَاوِيَةٌ, هَاوِيَةٌ, هَاوِيَةٌ. And then the other two verses are easy. وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا هِيَ نَارٌ حَامِيَةٌ. Let me read it once, the full surah, then I'll listen to these two brothers, inshallah. Okay? So everyone just listen. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. خلاص. طيب. Okay, I'll just read it inshallah. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. القارعة ما القارعة وما أدراك ما القارعة يوم يكون الناس كالفراش المبثوث وتكون الجبال كالعهن المنفوش فأما من ثقلت موازينه فهو في عيشة راضية وأما من خفت موازينه فأمه هاوية وما أدراك ما هي نار حامية. بسم الله. Yeah. If you're continuing between verses, not a problem, then you can say Al-Qari'atu mal-Qari'ah. But the essence of any verse is that we should try and stop at the end of each verse. If you're reading in a fast manner, if you're reading Taraweeh or whatever, maybe you can join. Al-Qari'. Yeah.
Specific verses you can join only, or can you do it to all verses?
Remember at the last lesson when we covered the stops, right? Remember, if you see a meme, don't continue in between them. If you see a lam alif or any other letter, then you can continue, not a problem, right? So you can say Al-Qari'atu mal-Qari'atu wa ma adraka mal-Qari'atu yawma yakun. It all depends on the recitation and how fast you want to read, right? If there's a meme, then you have to stop. No joining. Only for me, right? طيب, Bismillah. Al. Try again. Ri'ah. Good. Okay, good. Ri'ah. Good. Carry on. Good, mashallah. Tha. Mabthuth. The ending should be the same. Mabthuth. Aywa. Ahsant. Very good. Carry on. Good. وتكون الجبال عهن كالعهن منفوش. Good, very good. فأما من ثقل أيوة. Good. Yeah, you know what is one thing, yes. Sorry to stop you there, brother. You know, every single person, all of us, we have the ability to recite properly, right? It's just finding where our mistakes are and then just working on it, right? It's rare to find someone come and say that, no, I can't do it, right? It's a very small percentage of people that can say that. Majority of us, we have the ability to do it. We're just not going out the way to find our mistakes. So always look for what it is, what's wrong. Go to a teacher, learn that mistake, and you'll see that you can overcome it, right? Okay. طيب, next verse. فهو في عيشة راضية. عيشة راضية. Excellent. وأما من خف. Good. MashaAllah. MashaAllah. Good, MashaAllah. He said the ha properly. Bismillah. MashaAllah, mouth movements, very good. ثقلت
فهو في عيشة راضية راضية.
Good.
وأما من
خفت
وأما من خفت موازينه فأمه هاوية.
Good.
وما أدراك ما هي نار حامية.
MashaAllah, tabarakallah. Fantastic. A consistent student. Allahumma barik. Every single lesson he's been there, and the recitation is perfect. Alhamdulillah. Yeah, so it's all about keeping consistent, inshallah. For those of you first time coming, inshallah, try yourself to come as much as you can. Everyone has busy schedules. I'm not saying for my lesson, it's got nothing to do with me. Whichever Qur'an lesson you find, whether it's today, whichever time is convenient for you, wallahi, make the most out of it. The more you give time towards the Qur'an, the more barakah you'll see in your life, right? Sometimes we think that, no, let me do my busy stuff first, then I'll read Qur'an. If you change the concept, let me read Qur'an first, then I'll do my busy stuff, you'll see life will change, right? Anything to do with the Qur'an is barakah. So always try to put your Qur'an first, okay? And it doesn't matter about age, right? The older we get, it doesn't mean that we just stop reading Qur'an, no, right? It doesn't matter about age, it doesn't matter about ability, right? It's all about making and dedicating time, even if it's 1 hour a week. خَيْرُ الْأَعْمَالِ أَدْوَمُهَا وَإِنْ قَلَّ. The best of actions are those actions that are less but consistent. If you can do 15 minutes a week, wallahi, you'll see big improvement. But don't be 15 minutes and then 10 weeks, no, not seen again. So whether it's this class, whether it's a local class in a masjid, whether it's getting a private teacher, whatever it may be, work on perfecting the recitation of the Qur'an. That is the first step. And then, of course, there's other things you can do related to the Qur'an. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept it from us. Jazakumullah khairan. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
For Qunna, I had a lot of like different sides. They have different harakats for Qunna. Like how